You know that feeling when someone asks you a simple question, something like, "How was your day?" And suddenly your mind branches into 17 different directions. You're not just answering, you're considering the philosophical implications of what constitutes a good day. You're analyzing their tone to understand what they really want to hear. You're aware of the performative nature of casual conversation itself, and meanwhile, 3 seconds have passed and they're still waiting. And now you're hyper-aware of that wait, and the simplest question has become an existential maze. You've lived your entire life in this labyrinth. While others seem to glide through surface-level interactions with ease, you're standing at the edge of every moment, peeling back layers that no one asked you to examine. You see the systems behind the systems. You feel the weight of implications that haven't even occurred yet. Your mind is a relentless archaeologist, excavating meaning from places where others see only flat earth. And here's what no one tells you about being a deep thinker. The very thing that makes you insightful, that gives you access to profound understanding and allows you to see through superficiality, that same gift has become your greatest isolation. You learned to think deeply because somewhere along the way, surface-level engagement wasn't safe, or wasn't enough, or didn't protect you from something you needed protection from. So you went inward. You built worlds of thoughts so complex that they became both sanctuary and prison. This is the core paradox of the deep thinker. Your depth saved you, but now it's drowning you. You thought depth would bring you closer to truth, to meaning, to connection, and it did, but it also built an invisible barrier between you and the very presence that most humans take for granted, the ability to just be, without analysis, without the constant hum of meta-awareness, without the exhausting labor of thinking about thinking about thinking. The question isn't whether you're intelligent, you know you are. The question is, what did you lose access to when depth became your default? And more importantly, what early wound taught you that the surface was too dangerous to stay on? Let's begin by understanding what we're actually talking about. Deep thinking, in the psychological sense, isn't just being smart or well-read. It's a specific cognitive orientation characterized by what neuroscientists call an overactive default mode network, the brain's background operating system that activates when you're not focused on the external world. For most people, this network lights up during rest or daydreaming. For deep thinkers, it never really shuts off. It's always running parallel processing, always searching for patterns, always asking, "But why?" even when no one posed a question. Think of your mind as a house with dozens of rooms, and in each room there's a conversation happening. Most people can walk into one room, have that conversation, and leave. Your experience is that all the doors are open, all the conversations are happening simultaneously, and you can hear every single one. This is metacognition on overdrive. The awareness of your own thought processes has become so acute that you're essentially watching yourself think, judging that thinking, and then thinking about the judgment. It's consciousness folded in on itself, a Mobius strip of awareness. This often develops from what psychologists call precocious intellectual development paired with emotional parentification. As a child, you may have needed to become the emotional translator in your family system, the one who read between the lines, who understood what wasn't being said, who held the complexity that adults refuse to acknowledge. Or perhaps you grew up in an environment where intellectual achievement was the only safe form of value, so you learned to live in your head because your body and emotions weren't welcome. Either way, depth became your survival strategy. Here's where it gets neurologically fascinating. Prolonged activation of these analytical and introspective pathways actually rewires your neural architecture. Your brain develops what's called cognitive complexity, more synaptic connections, more crosstalk between regions, more integration between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. You become exquisitely attuned to nuance, subtext, and abstraction. But this same wiring makes it nearly impossible to experience what psychologists call flow, or what philosophers might call being, that state of unself-conscious presence where you're not separate from your experience, you are the experience. Your brain has essentially been trained in hypervigilance of the intellectual kind. While others developed hypervigilance in their nervous system, scanning for physical danger, you developed it in your cognition, scanning for hidden meanings, future implications, and conceptual threats. You're always 3 moves ahead in a chess game no one else is playing. Now, let's talk about what this actually costs you, because the price of perpetual depth is a very specific kind of loneliness that most people will never understand. You are lonely in conversation. Even when you're talking to someone, even when they're right there in front of you, there's a part of you that's watching the conversation from above, analyzing its patterns, aware of its performative elements, conscious of what's not being said. You can never fully disappear into connection because you're always aware that you're connecting. It's like trying to enjoy a movie while simultaneously being aware that you're watching a movie on a screen in a theater where you're sitting. You've broken the 4th wall of your own life. You are lonely in joy. When something good happens, you can't just feel it. You have to understand it, contextualize it, compare it to other moments, wonder if it's real or if you're performing happiness for yourself. Simple pleasures become complicated. A beautiful sunset isn't just beautiful, it's a reminder of the passage of time, the impermanence of all things, the sublime terror of existence itself. You've turned into the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard described when he wrote about the sickness unto death, not physical death, but the despair of being too conscious of your own consciousness. You are lonely in rest, because you cannot rest. Even your downtime is intellectual labor. You're reading, researching, learning, analyzing yourself, trying to optimize your own psychology. The idea of switching off is literally foreign to your neurology. You've forgotten how to be bored in the generative way that children are bored, where nothing needs to mean anything, where existence can be blank, and that blankness can be okay. The core fear driving all of this, the fear that if you stop thinking, you'll stop existing in any meaningful way. You've equated your consciousness with your worth, your analysis with your identity. You believe deep down that the moment you step out of your head and into simple presence, you'll discover there's nothing there, that you've built an elaborate palace of thought to distract from a fundamental emptiness. But here's the profound truth you need to hear. The emptiness you're afraid of isn't emptiness at all. It's space. It's the openness that allows for spontaneity, for genuine feeling, for connection that doesn't need to be understood in order to be real. You're not protecting yourself from nothingness, you're protecting yourself from everything, from the full, unfiltered experience of being alive, which is so intense, so vulnerable, so utterly beyond intellectual control that your mind learned to build a fortress of thought around it. Carl Jung spoke of this when he described the process of individuation, the journey towards wholeness. He said, "Thinking is difficult, therefore let the herd pronounce judgment." You took this to heart. You became the thinker, believing that depth would shield you from the judgment, the rejection, the pain of being misunderstood. But in doing so, you've created a new problem. You've become the herd of one, pronouncing judgment on yourself from every angle, never allowing yourself to simply be without evaluation. This is the invisible grief of the deep thinker. You've sacrificed your right to be simple. You've traded presence for understanding. And somewhere beneath all those layers of thought, there's a part of you that just wants permission to stop figuring everything out. Let's get specific about how this shows up in your adult life, because recognition is the first step towards liberation. You might find yourself unable to watch movies or TV shows without analyzing them. You're aware of the narrative structure, the cinematography, the cultural commentary, the ways in which it's manipulating your emotions. Entertainment becomes education. Relaxation becomes research. You can't just enjoy something because you've trained yourself to extract value from everything, and simple enjoyment doesn't feel valuable enough. You might be the person in your friend group who asks the questions no one else thinks to ask, who makes conversation too deep too quickly. Someone mentions they're tired, and you're immediately exploring the existential dimensions of exhaustion in modern capitalism.
You don't understand why others pull back from these depths, why they laugh nervously and change the subject. You feel like you're offering them something precious, real connection, real truth, and they're choosing small talk instead. What you don't realize is that your depth, while genuine, can also be a defense mechanism. You go deep fast because it's safer than staying in the vulnerable shallows where real emotional intimacy actually lives. You might struggle with decision-making in ways that seem absurd even to you. Choosing a restaurant becomes an analysis of values, identity, and consequences. Every decision becomes existential because you can see all the branches of possibility, all the implications, all the ways a single choice ripples outward. This is decision paralysis, born not from indecision, but from too much decision, too much awareness of what each path might mean. You might find yourself attracted to complex, troubled, or emotionally unavailable people because simple, stable love feels boring. If someone is straightforward in their affection, if they're emotionally consistent, if they're just there for you without drama or mystery, you don't know what to do with it. Your mind needs puzzles to solve, patterns to decode, depths to plumb. Healthy love feels too simple, and simple feels like not enough. So you choose complicated, mistaking complexity for depth, mistaking the need to figure someone out for actual intimacy. You might be the person who researches psychology, reads self-help books, goes to therapy, and knows all the terminology for your own patterns, but still can't stop the patterns. You've intellectualized your own healing. You can explain your attachment style, your childhood wounds, your defense mechanisms with stunning clarity, but intellectual understanding hasn't translated to emotional transformation because you're trying to think your way out of problems that thinking created in the first place. You might experience what feels like a double life, the external persona who functions, who goes to work, who maintains relationships, and the internal world that's vastly more real to you, where you're constantly processing, constantly reflecting, constantly experiencing life at several removes from the actual moment. The external world feels like a performance, and your inner world feels like your real home. But that home is so vast and complex that you get lost in it. Here's what you need to understand. These aren't personality traits. These are coping strategies. These are adaptations to an early environment that required you to think deeply in order to stay safe, or loved, or seen. A child doesn't become a deep thinker for no reason. A child becomes a deep thinker because depth gave them something they weren't getting from simple presence. Maybe it gave them control in chaos. Maybe it gave them value in a family that prized intellect. Maybe it gave them escape from feelings too big to process. Maybe it gave them the ability to predict and prevent pain. But you are not that child anymore, and the thing that saved you then is not serving you now. The first step in unlearning isn't to stop thinking deeply. That's impossible, and it's not even desirable. The first step is to witness the mechanism without judgment. When you notice yourself spiraling into analysis, don't gaslight yourself by saying, "I'm overthinking again, I need to stop." Instead, get curious. Say, "I'm reaching for depth right now. What am I avoiding by going here? What would it feel like to stay on the surface of this moment?" The goal isn't to become less intelligent, it's to become more flexible, to have access to depth when it serves you, and access to simplicity when that serves you better. So how do you heal something so fundamental to your identity? How do you unlearn a way of being that's been your primary operating system since childhood? The answer is paradoxical, which you'll appreciate. You don't heal by thinking about healing. You heal by practicing the thing that terrifies you most: simple, unanalyzed presence. This might look like sitting in silence without reaching for your phone, a book, or a thought to fill the space.
It might look like having a conversation where you don't try to go deep, where you practice just being light, just being easy, just being human without the weight of meaning. It might look like feeling an emotion without immediately trying to understand why you're feeling it, where it came from, or what it means about you. This is the practice of inner child reparenting for the intellectual. You're going back to the child who learned that thinking was the only safe place, and you're saying, you can put down the burden of understanding now. You don't have to figure everything out to deserve love. You don't have to be endlessly fascinating to be enough. You can be simple, you can be silly, you can be present without being profound. Shadow work for the deep thinker means confronting the parts of yourself you've intellectualized away, the parts that are messy, irrational, childlike, sensual, immediate. You've likely spent years in your head precisely to avoid your body, your emotions, your vulnerability. Coming back into those realms feels like death, because in a way it is. It's the death of the self-concept that says, I am what I think, therefore I must always be thinking. One of the most powerful practices is learning to choose softness over complexity. When someone asks how you are, try saying, I'm good, thanks, without the 17-layer analysis of what good means and whether you're performing wellness. When you're enjoying something, try not dissecting why you're enjoying it. When you're with someone you love, try letting the love be simple and uncomplicated, at least for a moment. The philosopher Martin Heidegger spent his life exploring what he called being in the world, the idea that we are not separate observers of life, but embedded participants in it. He wrote that modern humans have forgotten how to simply be, how to let things presence themselves without immediately grasping at them with analysis. For the deep thinker, this forgetting is complete. You've been grasping so long you don't remember what it feels like to let things simply be as they are. But here's the beautiful truth. Depth and presence aren't opposites. They're meant to dance together. True wisdom isn't about perpetual analysis. It's about knowing when to dive deep and when to float on the surface, when to question and when to accept, when to understand and when to simply experience. You don't need to kill the thinker in you. You need to befriend the part of you that exists before thought, beneath thought, beyond thought. That part was there when you were 3 years old, before you learned that depth was your value. That part is still there, waiting for you to come home to it. The goal was never to fix yourself. You were never broken. You were adapted. You were brilliant in your adaptation. But now you have a choice that the child you didn't have. You can choose to evolve beyond the adaptation. You can choose wholeness over survival. As the psychologist James Hollis wrote, the capacity to be alone is the capacity to love. It may look paradoxical to you, but it's not. It is an existential truth. Only those people who are capable of being alone are capable of love, of sharing, of going into the deepest core of another person without possessing the other, without becoming dependent on the other, without reducing the other to a thing, and without becoming addicted to the other. You've been alone in your depth for so long. Now it's time to discover true connection doesn't require you to bring others into your labyrinth. It requires you to occasionally step out of it. Your depth is a gift, but so is your simplicity. So is your presence. So is your ability to laugh without wondering why you're laughing, to rest without wondering if you're resting right, to love without turning it into a philosophy. You are more than the thoughts you think. You are the awareness that notices the thoughts. You are the silence between the thoughts. You are the being that exists whether or not it understands itself. And that, finally, is enough. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who lives too much in their head. Subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of being human. And remember, the journey isn't about becoming less of who you are. It's about becoming more of what you've always been beneath the thinking, whole, present, and free.